Welcome, students. We are here with our last week of the semester, here with day 6 of Unit 4. With it being the last week, I really feel like we may have one more lesson the rest of this year, which will be our Zoom lesson on Tuesday. I'll post details on that very soon. But let's go to begin and finally finish our Earth Cycles notes. With this Go Blue here of day 6, we have number 1. What are the pros and cons of fertilizer? Why are they bad or good? 2, nitrogen in the biosphere is found in what? Blank, which are the building blocks of blank. This goes back to our nitrogen cycle notes from last week, guys. And 3, what is fixation and what organism is involved with it? So think of fixation. All questions about the nitrogen cycle. Just as an update, guys, last week I posted we posted the latest quiz. So make sure to complete that. The last quiz of the semester, of this semester, the first one. And I will be posting shortly a notebook check. So get those situated. Get missing assignments turned in. What else did I want to say? And I think Wednesday and Thursday will probably be low work days because I want you guys to make up some work. So we may have some bonus activities for those who have their work completely up to date. But let's move on here to our answers. Number 1, positive. If you write those down on page 7B of your notebooks, page 7B. Number 1 is going to be, guys, pro, great for plant growth. Okay, con is algal blooms and proteins. So we love it for our crops. We grow strong crops and vegetables and fruits for our food. But bad is because it can pollute the water and cause algae blooms, as you can see there, the picture on the right. Guys, just so we know, the building blocks of are amino acids, and those are the building blocks of proteins, okay, which are key for the nitrogen cycle. Again, for our last check, we've got to really differentiate between the different cycles. And then 3, fixation is when bacteria turns nitrogen into organic compounds, specifically in the ground for organisms to consume it, like earthworms and plants. Okay. Table of contents is almost done, guys. We're not going to go ahead and do CO2 in the atmosphere, so ignore the 8 through 9. We're just going to focus on 1 through 7 for now. I may throw in one more update tomorrow. Let's go ahead and go right along to the phosphorus cycle, wrapping things up or finishing things up on page 7B. Okay, and keep in mind, again, you should be writing these questions down on page 7B or page 6 or 5, wherever there's room, okay? It asks us, kind of relating to the phosphorus cycle a little bit, what is coal's impact on the environment? Again, lots of phosphorus in coal. We know it's a fossil fuel. Let's see the good and bad of that. Going to let the web browser here, Microsoft Edge, load our stuff. So, coal, again, I just had this on mute because I just, you guys know, for the YouTube not getting mad at me. All right, so coal, well, causes a lot of health problems. If you guys know anything about coal mining, okay, and what they do is they explode mountains to get inside them to get the coal. We see this in like states like West Virginia, okay, but when it rains, this stuff gets into the waterways. It gets into our water system, pollutes the water. Then we burn it, and it's going to go into the atmosphere. Okay, we breathe it in. Guess what? Lots of health problems, respiratory problems, also some nervous system problems as well. So pollutes our airways, pollutes our waterways, damages our ecosystems, specifically water ecosystems with fish, and can be just bad for health. You guys know anything about coal mining? Coal miners, I think, make pretty good money, but they can also risk their respiratory health with what they do. There's the hazard of the work environment being in that drilling and all the coal smoke, coal debris that emits while working in those environments, right? So issue there. Let's go back to where we were. So that should be your answers for coal mining, guys. Again, smog, poisoning water, and illness are your key three for that. Phosphorus cycle. So you now should have a section on phosphorus cycle. Let's run through the substances, the processes, and the comparisons with the different spheres. So substances, just got to know phosphorus and phosphates. Again, please write this down word for word on page 7. Write this down word for word on page 7. If you need more room, make another page 7 behind 7b, or continue this on 7b. So phosphorus is regular old elemental phosphorus found in minerals and rocks underground. Phosphates, in particular, we are going to use for fertilizer, again, making our plant stronger, as well as detergent for our laundry. So that's where we find a phosphorus in everyday life and in the environment. Okay, no need to draw any more cycles. Remember, we drew on page 3, I'm thinking, or 4, the water cycle. And page 6, you should have drawn both the carbon cycle up top and the nitrogen cycle below. We're going to move on. You do not need to draw the phosphorus cycle. Okay? From last week, here's maybe our question of the day. Fertilizer runoff causes this process, which involves fresh bodies of water becoming polluted. So like the water becomes very green, dense with moss, dense with algae. What's that going to be? Is it going to be A, decay and sedimentation, B, eutrophication, C, fixation, or D, absorption? Pause the video, see what you think. Answer is going to be B, eutrophication. Got to know this stuff, guys. Caused by fertilizer runoff. Okay. Processes that we need to know. The 3 processes of our phosphorus cycle are going to be weathering. Okay. Just think of it this way. Anything that involves rock or a lot of soil stuff is going to be usually the phosphorus cycle. Okay. So breakdown of rocks into smaller pieces, right? Mountains break down from the wind, from the rain, the ice, the et cetera, right? Absorption. What happens when it rains? Well, bad stuff with this phosphorus because it goes into the waterways and the water systems. Okay, where it gets absorbed by plants can sometimes be good, but too much of anything, as we all know, is not healthy, is not good. Okay, so cycles through animals and plants, which can be good. Too much of it is not good. And lastly, again, more with our rocks and fossils, decay and sedimentation. Dead organisms are broken down and later become sedimentary rocks. Those organisms become fossils and fossil fuels, and sometimes the phosphorus in the bodies of those organisms become phosphates. Okay? Again, make sure to write all of that down on page 7 or the next page. Why are so many fish passing away in the Gulf of Mexico? I'm just going to go ahead and play one of these videos for us. Based on what we've been talking about, you should likely be able to know. Okay, so if you go, say you go to Louisiana, you go off of the Mississippi River, and you'll see there's this like zone, right? This zone, and let me just go ahead and pull this up for you too, because I think it's important to show this imagery, right? Because the Gulf of Mexico has just a lot of kind of issues. Okay, and I will say first off, there was the BP oil spill. All right, but also there's this fertilizer runoff off the coast, and you can see here in this picture. Okay, all this is runoff from the Mississippi River, and what runs off in the river, guys? All the fertilizer from the farms up north in Iowa, Kansas. You know, all these states that the river runs through, it's gonna get more built up with, you know, sediment and fertilizer as it goes down. And then where does that end up? It ends up in the ocean, specifically the Gulf of Mexico. And all this sediment, all this dirt, all this stuff here, there's a lot of fish. See, it's kind of this dark area, okay? This is what we call a dead zone. There are most of the fish and crustaceans that live in this area have died because of the polluting fertilizer that runs down from the Mississippi River. Okay, it's a very sad, tough situation. All right, so let's see the ramifications of that. Let's see the consequences. One sec, guys. So first consequence, a lot of dead fish. Fish that swim through die, hence why it's called the dead zone. Very sad, tough situation. And then you'll note, again, we got all those elements, phosphorus and nitrogen. And you'll also see the algae will be blooming as well. And then that's where you'll see these fish dying. And these fish aren't good to eat because obviously they may be rotted in the sun, they've rotted in the water, but they've got a lot of algae in them. Okay, so that's what we call like red tide. All those tides, that's algae blooming because of all the fertilizer in the water. Fertilizer, great for plants, bad for oxygen in the water, which ends up suffocating these fish or poisoning these fish. And in particular, if you happen to end up swimming in this water, it can really irritate your skin and your airways if you happen to get that water in your throat. So that's the negatives for that in particular. So again, something we should hopefully already know about a little bit. But let's go to finish up for the day, guys. We got phosphorus cycle. Okay. Well, phosphorus cycle, key thing here, students, key thing, is it's the only cycle not found in the atmosphere. There is no phosphorus gas that we need to worry about. Well, the gas form of carbon, carbon dioxide, gas form of water, water vapor, no gas form of phosphorus we're going to worry about. So we're going to say it's not a part of the atmosphere. Biosphere, important. We talked nitrogen and amino acids for proteins. Well, for phosphorus, you got to know that it's in DNA and RNA, right? Specifically in the sugar phosphate backbones of DNA and RNA, as well as the phospholipids of membranes. So why we call it the phospholipid bilayer. Okay, and then geosphere and hydrosphere, again, phosphates are found in the ground, and sometimes it runs off when it rains into the water, which is not a good thing. Okay, so make sure to write that down on page 7. That includes all the cycles we've covered: water cycle, carbon, nitrogen, and now phosphorus cycle. We are done with cycles for the year, guys. We'll have one more day of stuff tomorrow. All right. And we will be done for the semester. I think, like I said, Wednesday and Thursday are going to be bonus days. We'll have the notebook check, and we'll have a makeup day. So makeup day for maybe a bonus activity if you guys want to complete that. It says here, which cycle includes the element used within the backbones of DNA, RNA, as well as cell membranes? Pretty easy for us to remember. It is going to, we just talked about it, C, phosphorus cycle, C, phosphorus cycle. This is Mr. Campbell. Again, get missing assignments turned in. If you have questions, message me on Canvas. This is Mr. Campbell. Hoping everybody had a solid weekend. Let's have a solid finish to the first semester. Mr. Campbell, signing out.